If you are new to regulatory affairs or exploring whether this field is right for you, this video is part of a beginner foundation series. In this module, we will focus on the key stakeholders involved in drug regulation. By the end of this session, you should have a clear understanding of who the main stakeholders are, what role each one plays, and how their roles connect to protect public health. You don't need any regulatory background to follow along. We will use plain language and focus on understanding the system, not rules or procedures. Let us start with a simple question. Why does drug regulation involve so many different groups? Medicines affect human health directly. They can improve health and save lives, but they can also cause harm if they are unsafe, ineffective, or used incorrectly. Because of this, regulation cannot rely on a single perspective or a single organization. Instead, drug regulation works as a system of shared roles. Different stakeholders contribute different types of expertise. Some generate scientific data, some assess that data independently, some use medicines in real clinical practice, and some experience the outcomes directly. The system works best when these roles are clearly separated but closely connected. This separation helps ensure that decisions are balanced, independent, and focused on public health. Now, let us look at the role of regulators. Regulators are government authorities responsible for protecting public health. Their core role is to evaluate evidence and make regulatory decisions. These decisions include whether a medicine can be approved, changes after approval can be accepted, or a product can continue to be supplied to patients. Regulators do not develop medicines. They do not manufacture or sell products. Instead, they assess evidence generated by others and decide whether the expected benefits of a medicine outweigh its known risks for a specific use. Every country has its own regulatory authority. For example, in Indonesia, this role is carried out by BPOM. Other countries have different authorities, but the public health purpose is the same. It is important to be clear about this point. Regulatory decisions are made by regulators, not by companies, healthcare professionals, or patients. Next, let us look at the role of industry and regulatory affairs. The pharmaceutical industry is responsible for developing medicines, manufacturing them to quality standards, and supplying them to patients. This includes designing studies, generating scientific data, and maintaining reliable production and supply. Within industry, regulatory affairs plays a specific and important role. Regulatory affairs professionals act as the interface between the company and the regulator. They help interpret regulatory requirements, ensure evidence is complete and consistent, and present data clearly so regulators can assess it properly. Regulatory affairs does not decide whether a product is approved. That authority belongs only to the regulator. A simple way to understand the system is this. Industry generates the data, regulatory affairs organizes and explains it, and regulators assess it and make decisions. Now, let us turn to healthcare professionals. Healthcare professionals include doctors, pharmacists, nurses, and other practitioners involved in patient care. Their role is to use medicines in real clinical practice. They prescribe, dispense, and monitor medicines based on approved information. Importantly, they also observe how medicines perform in the real world, outside controlled clinical studies. Healthcare professionals play a key role in identifying side effects, noticing medication errors, and reporting safety concerns. They do not approve medicines, and they do not set regulatory rules. However, their real-world experience feeds back into the regulatory system and helps identify risks or issues that may not have been visible earlier. Patients are the reason drug regulation exists in the first place. They are the ones who use medicines and experience both the benefits and the risks in real life. In most regulatory systems, including Indonesia, patients do not make regulatory decisions. They do not approve medicines, review dossiers, or set regulatory rules. Instead, their role is indirect but essential. Patient experiences help define what matters in regulation, whether a medicine provides meaningful benefit, whether risks are acceptable, and whether new safety concerns appear over time. This information reaches regulators through pathways such as reports from healthcare professionals, safety monitoring systems, and real-world outcomes after approval. Even when patients are not directly involved in decision-making, every regulatory assessment ultimately asks the same question. Does this medicine benefit patients with risks that are acceptable and manageable? Now let us bring everything together. Drug regulation works because different stakeholders play distinct but connected roles. Regulators make independent public health decisions. Industry and regulatory affairs generate and organize evidence. Healthcare professionals apply medicines in practice and monitor outcomes. And patients remain the central reference point for benefit and risk. No single stakeholder controls the system alone. Regulatory decisions depend on clear responsibilities working together to protect public health. In the next module, we will build on this understanding by looking at how regulation follows a medicine across its entire life cycle, from early development to long-term use in patients.